That was good timing. Hey guys, so I'm gonna start doing Kerbal Space Program stuff because Kerbal Space Program stuff, and I am recording. I am recording. Oh my god, my hotkey works. Holy shit! I'm using caps lock so I know when it's on and when it's not while I'm in game. So this is the Kerbal Space Program equivalent of the German V-2 rocket, the world's first ever truly capable rocket. And there are two things I'd like to talk to you about today. First thing is the concept that the V-2 rocket is, with just some minor modifications, could have taken the Nazis to the moon is wrong for a lot of reasons. And we're going to be going over those reasons and what it actually takes to get into orbit. At the same time, I'm also going to be praising the shit out of this thing because, I'm going to be showing you the best thing the United States also had. All things, it's not really comparable. So it's ridiculous. So we're going to be launching from Cape Canaveral. I'm using the realism overhaul mod, which means we're using a realistic world. And notice how fucking eccentric the moon's orbit is. This would instead of the perfectly flat, nearly zero eccentricity and nearly zero inclination orbit that you're probably used to in the other versions of Kerbal Space Program. This is how incredibly steeply the moon is actually inclined as it orbits the Earth. It does not orbit perfectly east to west. It's pretty fucking slanted. And that's why we don't often have eclipses, because if the sun's shining this way and the moon passes in front of it, the moon's not going to pass in front of the sun. So you need to wait for the sun to be perfectly in line so it actually passes over. Where's the sun, by the way? There it is. I was just looking around. There's a lot of giant shiny things in the sky. So see, for example, right now, at the current angle, if the moon passed in front of the Earth, there would be no eclipse. Completely irrelevant to what we're actually doing. What we're actually doing is launching from Cape Canaveral, and we're going to just fling ourselves that way and see how far the V-2 actually gets, and how close it actually gets to orbit. And because we're using the realism overhaul mod, something people usually aren't used to doing is you have to ignite the rockets before you actually launch, and then I'm pumping fuel in from the clamp so I can just sit here with my rocket burning all day if I wanted to. But I don't, so we're off with the V-2 rocket and all its V-2ishness. And actually, oh god, it's not a stable rocket. That actually is one of the major issues with the V-2 is it's extremely aerodynamically stable, but it's extremely dependent on aerodynamics for its stability. Without the aerodynamics, this is not a stable design. So at low airspeeds, it's usually, yeah, I think I fucked that launch up pretty bad, didn't I? Pulling up as hard as you possibly can, and it's just not. Yep, and we already ran into high dynamic pressure, so that was a launch failure. So when you see V-2 launches, the old video footage of it, and the rocket goes absolutely apeshit and smashes into things, they really did do that. They, the rockets were extremely dependent on the, they're very unstable basically. They're not very good at low air speeds. Once they get up to speed, they're very stable. At low speeds, they just aren't. Got to turn the pump on. Oh, that was really... Okay, so we're off. We're off to the races. Jesus Christ. It does use thrust vectoring, though, rather than aerodynamic authority for its control, so it does have pitch and yaw control. It has no roll control. I also have control surfaces on the bottom of my fins to give me some basic roll control, but that was just me. That's an addition I made because I like being able to roll myself in the right direction. And what a roll rate this thing has, having absolutely no roll inertia whatsoever, being super narrow. And our gravity turn has already started, and it's in the wrong direction. Oh god. Did I mention the fact that it's actually very unstable at supersonic speeds? And we're supersonic, by the way. We're at 1.2 already. Very high acceleration on this rocket. But that's not necessarily a good thing. That means we end up at some extremely high dynamic pressures, which ends up blowing a lot of fuel early on while you're low in the atmosphere. But again, overall, compared to what the other nations are screwing around at this time, it's completely unique. You'll also notice it does not have a big cone around the exhaust like a lot of modern rockets do, which means as we get to higher altitudes, you'll see the rocket, the plumes start to fan out as the pressure around it drops. and the exhaust velocity drops off, and as a result, the rocket's efficiency very drastically drops off. You also notice I'm throttling up and down. It's not changing the throttle. This rocket had absolutely no throttle control whatsoever. It was literally just a light it and go. And we are exceeding Mach 6 in a second here. Again, hypersonic stability, very poor, but it doesn't need to be because it's, well, at this point, it's now a projectile. It's no longer a rocket. And this is ultimately the problem with the V-2 if you really want to try and use it as an orbital rocket. I'm still well within sight of my launch site, and I'm out of fuel, so yeah, we're not going to make it to orbit. Although I am a little curious what fell off. Did I lose? I didn't lose any of my control surfaces. Apparently I lost part of the engine. This rocket was known for losing parts from time to time, but it lost some parts and it still worked. So, you know, redundancy. So, my apoapsis on this flight, I didn't roll over fast enough. This was too much vertical, so I'm not going to get as much downrange distance. But I'm also going to get to higher altitude than I usually would. This rocket, when it was going for its optimum range, which, I mean, as an artillery weapon, that was the entire point of it. It would have an apoapsis, a highest point of about 80 kilometers. I'm already over 110 kilometers. So I'm going to get a little more altitude than it would usually get. I'm also not traveling down. I'm still traveling up, but we're in the higher atmosphere, so there's no, I mean, I have no aerodynamic authority. And the actual V-2 itself didn't have any controls on the fins. It was purely controlled by thrust vectoring, which means once the rocket motor burns out, it has no control over its attitude whatsoever, and it just goes ballistic. And I'm not going to be touching any controls from this point over to simulate that, because again, it didn't actually have these fins in reality. I just added those because it's very difficult to try and control. So yeah, the major issue that the rocket now runs into is if you're lucky, it ends up falling nose cone first and being reasonably accurate. If you're not lucky, it doesn't end up coming down nose cone first, and it skews off and misses the target by a significant distance anyway. So that's another reason why you would want to keep it at 80 kilometers at most. That way you have a little bit of aerodynamic control. But again, the actual rocket didn't have any aerodynamic control anyway. It was purely done by thrust vectoring, which has its limitations. You know, as an accurate strike weapon, I'm still really curious what that is I left behind. Whatever it is, it's still traveling with me, otherwise my distance would be opening up. But yeah, I mean, I'm doing about 1,600 meters per second. I did get some serious altitude, and now here's the issue. I meant to go, you know, east. Ended up going north. Whoops. Oh shit, we're about to bomb New York. I'm kidding, New York's up there. So looking at its, you know, its projected path, the major issue you're going to notice is if you did really desperately want to try and get something into orbit, you know, orbits are circles that are drawn around the planet. The V-2's path is sort of not. It's just not. I mean, it just does not have enough acceleration to get itself up to orbital velocity. So while I'm in space, you know, I'm high enough that I am out of the atmosphere. And it is going to be several minutes until we're back into the atmosphere. Does not change the fact that I'm not in orbit. It is going to come back down, and gravity is going to take its toll. So we're just now hitting the upper atmosphere. I don't actually have any heat shielding on it whatsoever, while the actual V-2 was built with a toughened nose cone to keep its warhead alive during re-entry. As I said, I don't have that, so I'm not actually sure this thing's even going to survive to make it to the ground. Pretty confident it won't. I also would like to point out, I don't actually have a payload on the rocket. Literally, all I lifted was the fuel tank and the engine. If you want to actually put a warhead on it, it's not even going to be able to make this much range. But that's okay. Again, I mean, this was a completely unique, object. I mean, nothing had the capabilities that this had at this point in time. And I mean, I was just here at Cape Canaveral, Florida, and now I'm going to end up here. I think Delaware's like somewhere around here. So we've covered some serious distance. And this rocket does have serious payload capacity if you really want to. So it's pretty impressive overall. At the same time, did not make orbit, did not get close to making orbit. So the whole, you know, strap some V2s together and you're going to get a manned mission to the moon thing, kind of not actually how it works. And we're going to be exploring that because I'm going to see just how far I can make it with a massive asparagus to all hell rocket using the A-4 engine. And the A-4 is the, I can't remember the German word that it was, but it's what all the V weapons, or not all the V weapons, but the rocket series that became the V2 was named. Yeah, I don't think this nose cone's going to survive this, guys. I really don't think so. Uh-oh. The fins might not survive either. Oh, the poor finish. Poor little guys. We're not gonna make it! We're not gonna make it! Oh god, no! We're still supersonic as all hell. I lied, we're going to make it. Are we gonna be subsonic before we hit the ground though? The actual V2 would stay supersonic all the way to impact. And the answer to that question is no, we are now subsonic. Because again, it's nothing but fuel tanks and engines, so mine sploosh. Mine ended up being quite a lot. Oh, it's the launch tower! The launch tower, for some reason, decided to follow me. Kerbal Space Program has some interesting glitches. Anyway. So, I mean, we made some serious distance. Again, this is about New York. That's Cape Canaveral, Florida. I mean, that is some distance for an artillery weapon. I mean, it works. It did what it was promised to do, and I don't know why that followed us. I really don't. So, the V2 rocket on its own is not capable of orbital flight. I'm now going to see how many V2s I need to strap together to get at least part of one of them into orbit. Although overall, I still don't think it's going to happen. Oh, no. Actually, there's one more thing I want to do. I want to show you guys, because America, we had our own large rocket, and, I mean, we actually did use it during the Ares launch? I can't remember what it was, but we actually used part of it as an upper stage. I haven't actually made it, but we're just going to make a new one. What are we going to call it? Oh my god, I can't spell. We're going to call it Tiny Tim, because that's the name of the rocket. And, it's a little smaller. It's also a solid fuel rocket, which are a completely different type of rocket. Which some might call them significantly easier than liquid-fueled rockets, because they are. It's also one of the smallest rockets they have. Tiny Tim. It's the Tiny Tim. It's the largest solid-fueled rocket in the world at the time, as far as I'm aware. Now we need to find a core that we can put on it that's small enough. How big is Sputnik compared to... Oh god, Sputnik's bigger than it is. Where's our sounding rocket core? Nope. Here we go. There we go. Alright, and a nose cone. We need a nose cone. We're not going to put any fins on it. It's not that I don't like the fins. I love the Finnish. They're very nice people. But it's not really going to be relevant. It doesn't burn long enough to do anything. So... it's a real Tiny Tim. We're also going to turn the burn time down. We don't need a thrust-to-weight ratio that ridiculously high. So we're going to extend the burn time to 10 seconds. And we're going to mount it to... one of these guys. Notice how much larger the launch tower looks compared to the Tiny Tim than it did to the V2. I'm going to kick it to the side a little. Alright. Got my Tiny Tim going. And again, all things considered, remember this is the largest rocket that was actually used and produced on an industrial scale in the world at this point in time, other than the V2. Actually, it's not. I'm not sure about the engine that was used on the Comet. That was also pretty big. But this one, it's pretty capable, all things considered. 3, 2, 1, fire. Yay! We're going to the moon. Oh shit. Probably should have put some fins on it. Remember when I said I wasn't going to put fins on it? This is why you always put fins on your rockets. Jesus Christ. Oh, not launch. Oh, I'm dumb. Anyway. Guys, it didn't work. Tiny Tim failed. Alright, so we're gonna try this one more time with fins on it. Jesus Christ. Remember, guys, remember, guys, always put fins on your rocket because the Finnish are an amazing culture, and you should never say mean things about the Finns or your rockets spin wildly out of control. It's just how it works. A mass way too big. We don't want wings, we just want fins. Where's the littlest fin we have? I have no idea. Whoa, it's larger than the rocket is. So yeah, you run into some problems when you're dealing with Tiny Tims. One of the largest solid rockets in the world compared to all of the orbital capable stuff. They're actually pretty tiny. Yeah, no. I'm sure there's a small fin in here somewhere. This is the point in the game, the point in the video where very interesting things happen for an extended period of time. And why would I edit this out? This is just the best part of any video is, Jesus, those are huge. Oh, I think these are actually these are the fins that were on the, yeah, the A-4 fins. Those are the fins that the V-2 actually used. And I used my other fins instead because I'm silly. Here we go. I knew there were little fins in here. And we're going to put them as far back, as far to the tail as we can. And we only need 3. 3 fins are more than enough. Alright. Oh, how stupid am I? You'd be amazed. Alright, so launching the Tiny Tim with fins. Just to see how close America was to being able to put something into orbit at the time. Also, I forgot to bend it to the side, so we're just going to launch straight up. I'm okay with it, though. Tiny Tim away! Woohoo! We're going to the moon. Going to the moon. To be fair, it actually does have some serious range. And it's still tipped over. Still tipped over. Okay. Guys. Fins didn't work. As the fuel burnt out, the center of mass very rapidly moved to the front. That should help, actually, though. I have no idea why I just spun wildly out of control. Oh my god, we made a cloud. We made a cloud, baby. So yeah, the V-2 had a bit more range, but we're falling backwards. I don't understand. I think the fins, you know what? I think it's because I forgot to make the fins are too strong. You see, when you have a bunch of big, butch, strong, heavy fins at the back, it moves the center of mass too far down. And your center of lift ends up in front of the center of mass, or the center of drag. Center of lift and center of drag mean the same thing as rocket. Yep. See, the center of mass is way below the center of drag. That's a massive no-no. If you do that, bad things happen to your rocket. So we're going to make them super weak fins. And just out of curiosity, as we run out of fuel, yep, the center of mass is still way down there. We need to put something heavy on the nose. Let's put a payload on it. Again, this is the interesting part of the video. We need a battery. Where's my battery? My battery. There it is. Oops. I've got my battery. And then you put the nose. Nope, you go to cone, but we want a smooth cone. And going to put the length down. Then you're going to put dish down. And then you zero out the nose. And it's a cone. It's a cone that's actually a battery. I don't understand why my center of mass is still way down here. Apparently the bottom of the rocket is significantly heavier than other parts of the rocket. So, we're going to put 4 fins on it. Because if 2 fins aren't enough, if 3 fins aren't enough, then we put 4 fins on it. Again, it's all about the fins. And you know what? We're going to try something else. We're actually going to make this a little more complicated. Because why not? I think more complicated is usually better. So we're going to find a small decoupler. Decoupler. Gonna put a small decoupler on the side. And then we're gonna put 4 more Tiny Tims on it. Because how many Tiny Tims are enough? There were never enough Tiny Tims. Put some Tiny Tims on the side. I'm gonna put them way down here. And we're gonna put a fin on each of them. Because once again, you can never have enough fins. Trust me, I know. I just crashed several rockets. Literally just now. You guys watched me, in fact. And we're going to cut these down to... that should be good. We're going to light them. And we're going to let go with that at the same time. We're going to blow them off, and then we're going to launch this, and it should work out fantastically. Purely in theory. It's now a 2-stage Tiny Tim. So this is sort of the idea that people had, that if you were to take 4 V-2 rockets and use them to lift up one normal V-2 rocket, and then you fired that normal V-2 rocket at the apoapsis of the 4 V-2 rockets that put that one V-2 rocket up to the point, that you would then have an additional V-2 rocket, and then you would somehow magically be at the moon after that. Again, I will explain to you exactly why that doesn't work, but we're going to try this, I believe. Tiny Tims! Tiny Tims, assemble! Oh, we're losing her. We're losing her again. The fins have betrayed me. God damn it, fins. I trusted you. All the fins fell off. It didn't work. It really didn't work. God damn it. That is really annoying. So we're going to try one last thing. One last attempt, and I know exactly what we're going to do. We're going to simulate having a big heavy explosive warhead on the front of it, because these Tiny Tims were originally intended to be surface to ground, or I'm sorry, air to surface rockets. And they were some big ass rockets for aircraft launch shit. So we're going to take a procedural fuel tank. We're going to do the same thing we did to the battery and make it into a cone. And then we're going to do something magical. We're going to fill it full of lead. Because when in doubt, throw more lead at it. Lead, 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 lead. Where is my lead? Lead, 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 lead. There's my lead. Yeah, I filled it full of lead. Yeah, all that lead. So where's my center of mass? And when those... I don't think that's moved my center of mass up enough. Where's my center of drive? Yeah, that's the problem. That is absolutely the problem. The answer is more fins. The fins may have betrayed me the first few times, but I'm sure they will not betray me again. I believe in the fins. I really do. I don't believe in Sweden though. They're not doing so well right now. It's actually kind of ridiculous how not well Sweden is doing right now. And we're also going to make the fins lighter, because we don't need strong fins, we need light fins. And again, we're going to make sure those are as light as possible, and we're going to pray a lot. So, this should be enough fins. I'm pretty sure that heavy weight at the front is really going to help. This video has gone a lot longer, and considering I finished what the video is actually about. Oh no, my computer's crashing. Nah, it'll be fine. Okay. So now that we have, how many fins do we have? We have 3 on each, that's 4, 3, 4, 12. We have 12 fins on the bottom and then the 4 more on the top, so we have 8 fins. I believe 8 fins is enough fins. That looks absolutely ridiculous, but I truly believe that we have enough fins. We are confirmed having enough fins. To be fair, we're right about to break the... No, we're not. Are we going to break the sound barrier? Oh my god. Guys, I was right. The heavy weight and the fins together. We are successful. This somewhat complex, somewhat stupid, but this is the best attempt that America has of putting 35, however much that is, of lead weight And we still didn't get anywhere near what the V-2 was capable of. So, it's pretty good. I mean, we made it up to 4.5 kilometers. That's not so bad, considering we are carrying quite a bit of weight. we may have cluster bombed the launch pad slightly. I don't think I would like to launch a launch vehicle from. I think about trying to use like a bunch of truck mounted rockets that are launching rockets to attack things, and you literally cluster bomb the launch point whenever you fire your rockets off. That would be a little ridiculous. And we're nearly breaking the sound barrier on the way down. Flat. So all things considered, I mean, where is it? We landed like right over there. So compared to the V-2 that made it pretty far. We made it halfway to New York from Florida. Still, alright, it's better than nothing. So I'll see you guys next time. As I said, I'm going to do what I just did with the Tiny Tims. I'm going to do that to the V2s, and we're going to see how far we can make it with V2s. And we're going to see how far we can really take it, and how successful it can really be. We have fins. I repeat, we have a fin on the way down. And the fin has landed. Several fins have landed. Jesus. There's still pieces coming down. Alright, so I will see you guys next time. I'm seriously ending the video this time. Remember, everyone, believe in the fins.